Hello. I may be interrupted at any moment by my grandma coming home, but until then, I want to chat because it is not a running day, it is Shabbat, and this morning something came through the letterbox that really surprised me. It was a big envelope, and usually, like 90% of the post that comes here is for my grandma, so I picked it up and was ready to put it with her stuff. And then I saw it had my name on it, and it's from Cancer Research UK, so I presume it's got to do with the run, hence why it's in this video. And as you can see, I've not yet opened it, so here we go. I wasn't expecting anything, I don't think. Oops. Ooh, it's a whole bunch of stuff, is it? All right, let's have a look. They've said thank you for stepping up and signing up to fundraise, but they've written, and signing up to fundraise a minimum of £0 for us. Not even £0, nothing. But that's a reminder that if you want to donate, link down below, please do. Any amounts would be greatly appreciated. I've got a sweepstake to send round, a sponsorship form, and a t-shirt. Okay, interesting, let's have a look. I ordered a small, apparently. I don't remember ordering this. I don't really need more tops. It's nice material, though. I'm quite happy with that. I'm not gonna lie. I'm quite pleased I did that. What does it say on the back? Together, we are beating cancer. I am quite glad I got a top. And actually, I think I'm glad I got the small, because even the small looks like it's going to be way too long on me. I won't try it on now, but that's exciting. I'm excited by that. Oh, my goodness, I've got a whole booklet here. Your ultimate fundraising guideline, and my race day checklist is on the back. £250, which is what I'm trying to raise, could fund 2 research nurses for 1 day. Our research nurses are clinical experts who raise awareness of our clinical trials and support and monitor patients during their treatment. Pretty important stuff, I would say. I don't know what a sweepstake is. It keeps mentioning sweepstakes, and I just don't know. Oh, that's a good one. Make a training and race day playlist and ask your friends and family to make a donation to add a song. It's a good suggestion. Oh, training tips? Eat healthily. Yeah, I've not been thinking about what I'm eating. Oops. Oh, that's interesting. They mentioned tapering, which I never would have considered, but fair enough. I feel like really inspired by all this. I'm very excited. This is the sweepstake. So this is just people guessing how long they think it'll take me to cross the finish line, and they can donate to fill a box. I don't love it because most of my donating, let's be realistic, is gonna be through the internet because I don't have many people in person here. And also I can try and work towards one of these, but maybe we'll do it, we'll see. You can always just leave comments and let me know what you think my time will be. Oh, this is nice. I can do it in memory of, or I'm taking part for. And I like that they've given both options because, to be honest, I've kind of got both. So I don't know what I'll do with this though, but I'm happy to have it. What's this? Jeez. Oh, this is like a planning page. No, a fundraising planning page. Okay. I mean, I kind of feel like we may have wasted a little bit of paper with all this, but equally, I am excited about it. And then there's a sponsorship form. Okay, so they can pay me and I can pay it on. It's a little bit confusing, but we'll work with it. That's exciting. I'm gonna wear this on my runs. I'm very excited. I mean, I don't need any more tops. I actually have enough tops, but I'm very excited by it. And I'm glad to be sharing to the world why I'm running. Once again, I'm going to keep saying it because it is really important to me. Please, please, please donate if you can. Link in the description. And I'll see you all shortly with another run, hopefully. Bye. Hello. It's been more days than I would have liked since I've last run, but I'm going for a run today. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, I have no motivation to go for a run. But I need to go. I really need to go. I want to go. We're going to do it. I think I'm going to set myself the goal of 45 minutes. And I don't really care how far I go, I don't care how fast I go, I just want to run for 45 minutes. But something that happened yesterday that I didn't have a chance to tell you about yet is that I have signed up. I think I told you guys a while ago that there was a free 10k that was happening, but because it was free, it was a balloted entry, so not everyone got a place. And I didn't get through the ballot, but obviously there were leftover spaces at the end, and they emailed me, and I've signed up for it. And that's happening in less than 3 weeks, in about 2.5 weeks. And my goal for that 10k is literally just to run it. I don't care how well I do, I don't care how long it takes me, I just want to run it. So I don't think I'm going to run a 10k before then, but I do need to make sure that I'm strong enough to at least get to the 10k mark. And I do think being in that environment will hopefully push me a bit as well, and that I can surprise myself with what I can achieve. That's what I'm hoping. But until then, we've just got to train and keep training, And I don't care if the 10k takes me 2 hours to finish. I kind of hope it doesn't take quite that long, but in theory, if that's what it takes, it doesn't matter as long as I complete it. But we've still got a few weeks before that. As I say, my goal for today, I think, is just to do 45 minutes of running. The weather is not I don't think it's great. It rained this morning, so I think all the pavements and everything will be wet, but it stopped raining now and it's grey, but I don't think it's too cold. I think it's just going to be a bit weird, to be honest. But I'm going to do a warm-up first, and then I will go for my run, and then I will speak to you after. See you then. Hello. I didn't have a chance to chat to you after the run. I actually did, but I ended up using that time to film some Vlogmas videos. And then my grandma came home. The run today was not easy. The weather actually wasn't as bad as I was expecting, but, you know, just my general lack of motivation and a number of other things made it a tough one. And it was slippery with the leaves and things. That was, you know, had to navigate that. But I had said to myself, and I said to you guys actually, that I was going to do a 45-minute long run, whatever that meant, and I set a timer on in my app saying 45 minutes. And I got to the park and was already struggling. And again, I tried to get to 2 kilometers without stopping. I did need to take a little break, but like 20 seconds, and then I did do the rest. And then I did a lot of running and walking and running and walking, like lots of sprints and then walking and then sprints and then walking. It wasn't quite as solid as I've done the last few runs. And I got to about 3.5 kilometers, I think, and I left the park. And on the one hand, I'd already said to myself a lap earlier that I would have left the park then, and then I said, no, I can do one more. But on the other hand, I probably could have done one more in the park. But instead of running towards home, I ran the opposite way, which meant obviously that gave me a few extra 100 meters or kilometer, and that worked. And then I again did quite a bit of walking and a bit more running, took a slightly different route home, and then ended up sort of doing an even longer route to try and get a little bit more in. And I think that was because I'd hit 5 kilometers far enough away from home that I figured I could go to a 6th kilometer. But obviously I needed to get those extra however many meters. And then I got to 6 kilometers, I think around the 42-minute mark, and I was like, do you know what? I may as well do the 45 minutes that I'd set out to do. Initially, I'd said to myself, sorry, I should backtrack. After I realized that I was struggling with this run so much, I said to myself, just got to get to 5 kilometers and then I'll go home. The 45 minutes doesn't matter. But then, as I say, I ended up going to 6 kilometers, and by the time I got to 6 kilometers, there were 3 minutes left, so I just did the last 3 minutes, and I survived. The last few minutes, actually, after I hit the 6 kilometer mark, my rib, I mean, I'd been having a stitch for a lot of the run anyway, and that's annoying enough as it is, and it was not going away. But in those last few minutes, there was just something in my rib that felt, I can't even explain it. It wasn't a stitch. It felt like it was going to burst or something. It was awful. And I was, on the one hand, really nervous about it, and on the other hand, just like, I gotta keep running. So look, it wasn't perfect, but in the end, my overall pace actually wasn't so bad at all. And I had a look today. I've done 3.5 hours worth of running in November, which is already, I'm quite pleased with, to be honest. But it was showing me my average pace of the month. So I quickly had a look at October and September, because obviously I've done not that many runs in each of those months, but enough to have some data on it. And it was really nice to see that my pace, my average pace, has really come down each month. I would say by about 30 to 45 seconds each month. So that's nice to see that even if, you know, this run wasn't necessarily as strong, it was still faster than any of the runs I did in October or September. And I've just got to take that, you know, I've just got to accept that. And I'm hoping, I've got tomorrow and Friday off, so I'm hoping to get 2 more runs in this week. I did have to keep sort of being kind to myself and saying, this is your first run in 5 days, like accept the fact it's not going to be as good as the last run you did, which was at the end of 3 days. But you still feel, you want to just keep getting better, and it's frustrating when you don't. But think of how much better I am than I was when I started. That's what I keep telling myself. So I'll probably see you tomorrow. Bye! I've just been for a run again. Ooh, I'll talk to you guys about it later. But I just wanted to let you know, because I didn't let you know beforehand. But first I gotta stretch and shower, and then I'll speak to you. But it was good, it was good. Hello. Today's run was really good, actually. I think it was my fastest pace to date, so that's obviously great. I did my first kilometre in under 5 minutes. Let me just check what it was exactly, but I could not believe when the voice said 4 minutes something. I didn't know I was capable of that. I think it was 4 minutes 40? Yeah, 4 minutes 40. Could not believe that. And I didn't stop for the whole 2 kilometers, which I was very happy with and proud of. Again, I took a slightly different route, and it was a slightly longer route to get to the park, but I didn't realize quite how much longer it was. So when the voice said 1 kilometer, I could not believe I'd already hit 1 kilometer. And I was quite glad because, again, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to 2 kilometers. But then when I heard the voice saying 1 kilometer so much earlier than I was expecting, I felt good about it. And my second kilometer definitely was slower. I can see it was a minute slower, but it was still run. You know, I didn't stop running. And that for me is a big accomplishment. And actually I went beyond the 2 kilometers. I think I got to about 2.3 kilometers without stopping. I need to get better at it, but I am getting better at it. I did think today would be a good run though, because it is really nice weather out in terms of it's very sunny, but it's freezing. I mean, overnight it was literally freezing. Now it's probably about 2 or 3 degrees. Lovely, lovely. And my goal when I left home, I was going to be a bit kinder to myself today because yesterday was such a struggle. So I said either 5 kilometers or half an hour. And I know myself, if I get to half an hour, I know that I'm about 5 minutes away from 5 kilometers. So I'm probably going to go for the 5 kilometers anyway. But that was my goal. I said, you know, if I want to stop after half an hour, I'm allowed to. And I hit the 4 kilometer mark at around 23, 24 minutes. And I was like, ooh, can I do a 5th kilometer by 30 minutes? And realistically, I knew I couldn't because I was already very tired. And I could see that I wasn't going to be running consistently for a whole kilometer. So I said to myself, if I can get it to 32 minutes, that's good enough for me. Because that already feels like such a significant difference. Especially when you consider my first 5 kilometer run, I think was 39 minutes and 56 seconds, if I remember correctly. So to be able to shave off 7 minutes would be amazing. And I did it. I got to 5 kilometers in about 32.5 minutes, I think. Which just feels like such a massive jump, and I'm so impressed with myself. And what I did was, instead of, I was going to leave the park at 4 kilometers once I hit 4 kilometers, because as I've told you before, it's a kilometer to get home. But I knew the way home is up a hill, and I knew I really wanted to try and get 5 kilometers in 32 minutes or less. So instead I went a different route away from home, but it's more flat. And I just did a couple of circles. But as a result, I then more or less still had a kilometer to get home. And actually I hit the 6 kilometer mark before I got home. I ended up doing I think 6.3 or 6.4 kilometers today. But what happened was, because I was taking this different route for the 5 kilometers and I wanted to really get the speed in, I found a route that went more downhill. But when you go more downhill, it means afterwards you need to go more uphill. So the start of the 6th kilometer, the first 200 to 300 meters, I was really struggling and just walking relatively slowly up this hill. But once I got to the top of the hill, I think I could see the time. I can't quite remember how far I was or how much time I had left, but I said to myself, can I get to 6 kilometers in 40 minutes? And I managed it. I think it was 40 minutes and a half, but still, like, I managed it. And I was just really, really proud of myself for how today went. And it's again that thing of, I still find it exhausting when I run. I still get to 600 meters and think I want to stop. And that's so frustrating because it's like, I should be better than this by now. But I am. Even though I don't feel it necessarily, if you look at the facts, I am. And what's really funny, something I realised, is, as I told you, yesterday was a bit of a struggle. Yesterday, I did 6.27 kilometres in 45 minutes. And today, I did 6.32 kilometres, so 50 metres more in 42 minutes. So 3 minutes less. And I'm just very, very happy about that. And I can also see here that my time for the month, the amount of time I've spent running this month, is 4 hours and 13 minutes. And I think I've got 1 run left this month, and that's tomorrow. So I think I'm going to aim to make that a 47-minute long run so I can hit 5 hours for this month, which is insane, by the way. And I broke some records today. So I got my fastest kilometre, my fastest mile, and my fastest 5 kilometres. And I'm very happy and proud about that. I could feel it in my legs though. I felt it this morning when I woke up. Like yesterday's run, I could feel in my body. So as I was running, I could feel that they were, you know, a bit tighter and a bit more sore. So I'm a bit nervous about tomorrow, but I think if I just set myself the goal of 47 minutes and see where that brings me, and it doesn't even matter how I do, if I can just hit 5 hours of running, that would be awesome. Especially when you consider that the first 2 weeks I was in Australia and I think I did 1 run if I'm lucky. So gotta keep cheering ourselves on and pushing ourselves. And I feel like I'm doing it, you know, I'm getting there. All right, that's all. Bye. Hello, I'm going for a run again very soon. I still need to warm up though, so I'm gonna go after. I'm not feeling super motivated today, but it does look like it's a nice day for a run. Again, it's a cold morning, but it's sunny and clear, so hopefully that means it'll be good. And I'm gonna aim to get my 47 minutes. And that's the only goal for today. And I think instead of going to the park, I'm just going to run down a road for 20 minutes and then expect that the journey back will be at least 27 minutes. We'll see if it works, we'll see if I end up doing that, but that's the plan. As I say, I'm not feeling motivated, so we shall see what happens and how we do, but we're gonna do it. Hello, it's Friday, so we've got some lovely freshly washed hair with us, and we are going to chat about today's run, which was really good. As I said to you earlier, I set the goal for 47 minutes, and I sort of figured that would be about 6.5 kilometers. So realistically in my head, I thought I'll probably do 7. But as you know, I went into this not feeling too motivated. My days, I did 8 kilometers and 58 minutes, almost an hour. I'm so proud of myself. And my pace was really consistent until, I would say until the 5th kilometer, I was doing really, really well. The first kilometer I think was like 6 something, so not as good, not anywhere near as good as some of my past first kilometers. But then the average pace at the second kilometer over the 2 kilometers was 6:56. It was the same, it was exactly the same for the 3rd kilometer, which is incredible. And then it went up to 7:01 for the 4th kilometer, which I still think is pretty impressive. And I went a different route. I didn't end up running down the road all the way because as I got to a point, I could see it was going to be uphill. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And where I was, I could take a couple of side streets to get to the park. And they were all downhill. So I thought, I'll do that. So I went to the park, and I think at that point I was close to 2 kilometers, although not actually. I thought I'd be close to 2 kilometers, but I was still at like 1.5 or something. And I was not happy about that because I really wanted to stop running. But I kept going, I pushed myself, and I made it to 2 kilometers, not anywhere beyond. As soon as I heard the voice saying 2, I stopped. But at least I made it to 2 because I really wasn't sure if I was going to get there. And then I think I've told you about this park before. It's sort of rectangular. And I sort of, generally speaking, I walked half of the short end, ran half, ran the whole, and then walked half, ran the whole. And I more or less kept that up for almost the entire 5 kilometers. I'd said to myself, I'll leave the park at 5 kilometers. That was sort of what I was thinking. And again, I ended up going a slightly different route and then taking a detour and ending up back in the park. And then as I was nearing home, and nearing the 47-minute mark, actually I think I'd already passed it, I was at like 6.5 or something kilometers. So I said to myself, well, let's go for 7, as I had anticipated. But then the detour I took to get to 7, because I needed to take a detour, otherwise I would have been home already, that was a longer detour than I anticipated. So by that point, when I would be getting home, I would be reaching about 7.5. And I thought, let's reach 8. I couldn't remember. I know I've done one 7 kilometer run before, but I couldn't remember 7 point what. I think it was 7.2, but I'm not sure. But I was like, I haven't got to 8 yet. And I do have this run in just over 2 weeks, which is the 10 kilometer run. Not the official race one, but a free one that's happening. I've just seen this as like dripping onto my top. Ah well, toss. So I did loads and loads and loads and loads of circles near my house just to get up to 8. And as soon as I hit 8, I was more or less home. But I'm so proud of myself. I'm looking at it now, and the last few kilometers really weren't quite so strong, and they've dragged my overall pace down, but I'm not so worried about my overall pace, and I'm not upset that it's gone up, because I'm more proud of the fact that I ran for almost an hour. It was 58 minutes and I think 35 seconds, and I did 8 kilometers. And I just think that's so cool. I'm so proud of myself for that. And let me tell you, my legs were aching. I really wasn't sure if I should do what I'd set out to do, the 47 minutes. I knew I had to, for me, for my personal, just how I am. But my legs were so sore, I was like, I am going to injure myself. But now I've definitely got probably 4 days of rest again, which is not great. I was trying to count how many days I have left before this race on Sunday in a couple of weeks. How many days I can run. I think it was 6 runs, let me check. Next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, maybe Sunday. That's a very big maybe though, because it'll be getting dark by the time I get home, so I'll need to like head out as soon as I walk in, basically. The Wednesday after, the Thursday, and the Friday. So it's 6 or 7 depending on if I can squeeze one in on that Sunday. And then the Sunday after that is the 10K. But with this one, again, I've said it before, I'm not as worried about it. I'm just seeing it as a practice run and hopefully something that will encourage and push me. So yeah, feeling good. Hello. I'm gonna go out for a run today, and it's been almost a week since I last ran. I think the last time I ran was on Friday, and it is now Thursday. I had planned to go for a run yesterday, but then I ended up working and coming home late, so didn't happen. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I have absolutely zero motivation to run today. And I don't know if that's because I've not run for a week. I don't know if it's because the weather's just like a bit iffy and a bit grim, although it's actually got better in the last hour. I don't know if it's because I'm hoping to move later today and I'm just like, I don't want to be leaving the house now. It's probably a number of reasons, but I'm saying to myself, I just need to do 20 minutes. That's all I'm forcing myself to do. I'm hoping I'll naturally push it up to 30, that's my hope. But really, I'm just saying go out there for 20 minutes and run. So we'll see how we fare. I'm also leaving later than usual because I was talking to my parents, which is very nice. But again, I'm just like, oh, I can't be bothered. But I'm just gonna go and do my best. And I will let you know how it's gone after. Here we go. I know there's a saying of like having a post-workout glow. I don't think I have that gene in me. This was an interesting one because it wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. I was expecting it to be really, really tough. And I was undecided about where I was gonna go as well because I didn't want to do, I don't know, I was so unmotivated. And I was kind of thinking maybe I won't go to a park, maybe I'll just like run down a road or something. And initially I had one plan and then I sort of just ended up going in a different direction and passing one of the parks I usually run to and run in. But instead I just kept going and then took a really long route around, like alongside a main road. And then my plan was, because I knew I was getting further and further away from home, my plan was at around the 15-minute mark to turn around and just do the same route back. Although that being said, one of the things that led me the route I ended up going on was because I kept following down hills. I just knew I was so unmotivated, the only thing that would keep me going would be if I was running downhill. So I didn't really fancy turning around because I knew everything would be uphill. And I got to a side road and I thought this could potentially lead me back because I kind of felt like I was doing a square. But I also knew my sense of direction is rubbish and I don't know these roads at all. So worst comes to worst, I literally again just follow my own path back. But in the end, it did lead me I was surprised, it ended up leading me. I think I mentioned weeks ago I once got lost, very lost, and it led me to one of those roads. But from there, I knew my way back to the park, and obviously from the park I knew my way home. And there was one bit that was quite steeply uphill and I was walking for a while, but then it went downhill again, so that was good. And because I knew I was heading to the park, I thought I may as well do a couple of circles in the park. And I think at this point I was already on like 2.5 kilometers. So I kind of figured if I can get to 4 kilometers in the park, then I should be able to make it to 5. And so that's kind of what I did. But then when I got to 4 kilometers in the park, by the time I got to the exit, I was at like 4.3. So in the end, I just turned around and went back around and did another lap around the park and then went out a different way and basically took a detour home. And then I would have been at like 5.4 when I got home, so I ended up just trying to do 6, and I did 6. Now, I did do more walking, I think this time than I've done in a while. Although I was impressed with myself, I almost made it to 2 kilometers without stopping. I think I did like 1.7, 1.8. And considering how unmotivated I was and the fact I haven't run for almost a week, I was pretty impressed with that. I wasn't expecting that of myself. And it didn't feel as tough. Usually when I start to run, it feels really tough. But it actually felt, I don't want to say easy, but definitely not as, I don't know if draining is the right word, but not as effortful. I think my average pace was slower this time than it's been in a while. Yeah, this run my average tempo was 7:20. And what was my average tempo across November? 7:13, so it was a bit slower. But I ended up doing almost 45 minutes, which I didn't realise, and I'm very impressed with myself. Oh, and I've now run 4 weeks in a row. That's good. I'm glad about that. I mean, even my first kilometre I think was slower than most other first kilometres, but I did it. Look, it was not the hardest run, but it also certainly wasn't the easiest run. But going in with no motivation to have done 45 minutes of running and 6 kilometres, I'm very, very pleased with myself. I think what happens is whilst I'm out running, I know how little motivation I have when I need to go out for a run. So if I'm out already, I'm like, well, I may as well do more because I don't want to do this. Like, I'd rather do more in one go whilst I'm already out and about than stop and then have to do it again. And I will still end up doing it every day that I can. But that's sort of my mindset of like, well, I didn't want to come out, but now that I'm here, I may as well do more. So I'm pleased with myself. I'm glad I did it. And it's showing a long-term improvement. Because back in October when I didn't run, admittedly that was 2 weeks rather than 1, but when I didn't run for 2 weeks, the first one back was so tough. Whereas now, I've been off for a week and I'm only doing slightly worse than when I was running every day, more or less, or 3 to 4 times a week. And as I say, that first kilometre felt reasonably easy. However, my warm-up today was slightly less thorough than I usually do it, and I did feel it. Rather than my lungs, this time, this run, my legs were struggling far more. Usually I'm not in any pain except potentially stitches, but I struggle with my breathing. This time the breathing was actually more or less fine. It was really my legs were feeling heavy and sore. So that was annoying, and I've just tried to do a lot of thorough stretching, but we'll see what happens. But I'm pleased with that, and hopefully I can do another good run tomorrow, and then the next one will probably be next Wednesday. But you know what? We make do. Oh, also, update. I got an email yesterday saying that I need to order a bib for this free 10k run that I'm meant to be doing next week. Is it next week already? Wow, that's bad. But I'd never got any warning about that beforehand. This was the first email I got saying you need to order it by midnight. And it was £5, so I didn't want to order the bib, and it did say you could collect it. And then I was reading further down, and the only times you can collect it are either a Saturday, which I can't do anyway, or this Sunday between 9 and 11, I think. But I'm working between 9 and 11. Actually, that's not true. I think I start at 9:45. Maybe. Oh, I don't know how long it takes me to get from one place to the other. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to collect it. And if not, I don't know if that means I can't run. So I'm not sure if next Sunday the 10k is happening. Maybe I should have just spent the £5. Thinking about it now, like it's gonna cost me just as much on public transport, more or less. Oh, that's so annoying. Anyway, I think it's too late. I can have a look. I'll double check. It might have been until midnight today, but I don't think so. Anyway, that's the update. I'm gonna go shower now, and I will hopefully see you tomorrow. Bye! Hello. I went for another run today. I was, again, so unmotivated. It was quite a nice day weather-wise, because it was cold and breezy, but sunny and clear. So theoretically a lovely day for a run, but I was quite tired, so I slept in quite late. And then I only had breakfast quite late, which meant I could only go for the run quite late. So in the end, I think I went for the run around 12. And in the hour or so preceding me going for a run, I was literally just like lying back in my bed on my computer doing stuff. And I had no motivation to get up. I was so comfortable, and I was getting through so much editing and other things I need to sort. So it did take a little bit of my cousin sort of dragging me and encouraging me to go. But then I went and I set a timer for 47 minutes. And I ended up doing, I think, 50, and I did just over 7 kilometers with a pretty reasonable pace. Not my fastest ever, but certainly not my slowest. And I was really quite consistent this time. I did stop and walk a lot, but I never walked any more. Perhaps whenever I was running or walking, I was doing it slower as the kilometers went on, but I always walked the same stretches and ran the same stretches. That never changed, which I felt really good about after sort of the second kilometer. The first 2 kilometers I try and run fully. And I think again I did take a little walking break in the second kilometer, but not a long one. And then kilometers 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 were all very balanced in terms of how much walking and how much running, and as I say, consistent, which I think is great. But before I left yesterday, I moved all my stuff, and so my arms and my back and everything is really sore from that, because I had a couple of really big cases that I was lugging up a number of flights of stairs, and so I was just a bit achy everywhere. But I mean, I did 50 minutes of running and I did 7 kilometers, which again, I wasn't expecting from today, and I'm so glad I pushed myself to do it. So that's a win. That's a win, and I'm gonna take it. And now I'm probably not gonna run again until next Wednesday, if even then. We shall see. Fingers crossed. See you then, hopefully.